Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to AITA Chronicles, where Reddit drama gets real, raw, and brutally honest. Today's episode, it's not for the faint of heart. We're diving into 20 cheating stories that are so personal, so chaotic, and so twisted, you'll wonder how half of these people even slept at night. We've got a girlfriend who hooked up with a guy fresh out of high school, a mom who got way too close with a school bus driver, a marriage torn apart right after a threesome, and a guy who found out his fiancée was planning a new life with another man. Just days after dress shopping, it gets worse. There's betrayal during business trips, bedroom drama that spirals into manipulation, and even a partner who thought it was okay to say it wasn't cheating, it was just a drunk Yeah, this lineup is wild. You're gonna get mad, feel sick, maybe even pause and rewind just to say, wait, what? Whether you're binge watching with snacks, folding laundry, or hiding from your own relationship problems, you're in the right place. And hey, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell. We're pushing hard for 10,000 subscribers, and your click helps keep this channel alive. Now settle in, because this is one of those videos where every story makes you whisper to yourself. There's no coming back from that. Let's get into it. Title: Ex-girlfriend cheated with a guy fresh out of high school. There's a kind of betrayal that doesn't just hurt. It burns. It doesn't sneak in quietly. It kicks the damn door down and stares you in the face while smiling. And that's what the writer experienced. At the time, the writer and his girlfriend were both in their mid-20s. They worked together at a small local market. Not glamorous, but steady. Every summer, new high school grads would flood in looking for part-time work. Some were just happy to be there. Others, not so much. One of those new recruits was this wannabe tough guy. Barely 18, fresh out of high school, thinking the world owed him something. He had that fake bravado. You know the type. Walks like he's seen too many gangster movies, tries to talk big, tries to look dangerous. But underneath it all, he was just a kid, a loud one. The writer was assigned to train him. And right off the bat, it was a headache. The kid didn't care. He wasn't there to learn. He was there to coast. Meanwhile, the writer thought things were solid with his girlfriend. They weren't perfect. Who is? But they were together. They were trying. They were building something, or so he thought. Then one night, it happened. A small argument, one of those petty fights couples have. So forgettable that the writer can't even remember what sparked it. But she did. She remembered it well enough to use it as her justification. After the fight, the writer noticed something weird. She started laughing a little too much around that kid. Inside jokes, flirty looks, a vibe he couldn't explain but couldn't ignore either. And then one day, the bomb dropped. The kid, the one he was training, looked him dead in the face, smirked, and said, Dude, I fucked your girl." That moment shattered everything. The writer confronted his girlfriend, and she didn't deny it. She admitted to it like it was no big deal, said they got drunk after that fight, went back to her place, and had sex. But she didn't stop there. She didn't just say they hooked up. She went into detail. She told him how she rode him, how he flipped her over, came on her ass, and left. Didn't even bother taking off her thong. Left her laying there like trash. She didn't spare the writer's heart. She aimed straight for it. And the worst part? She watched him cry. Didn't comfort him. Didn't break down. She just stared at him like she was watching a scene in a movie, just waiting for the credits to roll. But even then, she had to twist the knife just a little more. Oh, he didn't even make me come. It wasn't even good. Like that somehow made it better. Like that could cancel out the betrayal. A few days passed. No contact. Silence. And then she called. Said she wanted to make it work. That they should move past it. Like she hadn't just ripped everything apart with her hands and smiled while doing it. And when the writer refused, she threw out one last dagger, one that still echoes in his memory. I didn't cheat because we just fucked. We didn't make love. We just fucked. It didn't mean anything, just a drunk fuck. Let's be real here. That's not remorse. That's not an apology. That's gaslighting dressed in lingerie, trying to spin betrayal into something casual, as if calling it meaningless somehow makes it harmless. No, You don't get to rewrite the rules after the damage is done. Cheating isn't just about what you did, it's about what you chose not to protect. It's about the loyalty you tossed aside like it was disposable. The writer didn't just lose a girlfriend that day, he lost trust. He lost the image of what he thought love looked like. And he lost it to a punk kid who thought being reckless made him powerful. But here's the thing. The writer walked away. He said no to the manipulation. He didn't let her twist the story. And that's what matters most. Not that he got hurt, but that he didn't stay broken. Because sometimes survival isn't about revenge. It's about walking away with your dignity still intact, even when your heart is in pieces. So to anyone listening, if someone ever tells you it didn't mean anything after they cheat, don't let them fool you, because it meant enough for them to risk everything. And that tells you everything you need to know. Title: My 27th boyfriend cheated on me while on a work trip. I don't know what to do. There's a specific kind of heartbreak that doesn't come with screaming. It doesn't start with a fight or a slammed door. It begins with a confession you didn't see coming. One that gut punches you so hard it takes your breath away, and you don't even cry at first. That's where the writer found herself. She and her boyfriend had been together for 2.5 years. They lived together. They've talked marriage. They've talked about building a future. The kind of conversations that make you believe you're not just dating, you're building something real. And for a while, it felt like they were, until the moment he came back from a work trip and told her out of nowhere that he'd cheated. Not some flirty text, not a boundary-crossing conversation. He slept with someone. And not only that, he sat down, looked her in the eyes, and told her he was drunk, that this random woman made him feel wanted in a way he hadn't felt in a long time. Let's pause there. That right there, that's the kind of excuse that sounds like honesty, but stinks of deflection. Because yeah, maybe their sex life had slowed down. Yes, Ryder had been going through medical treatments for hormone imbalances. She was dealing with low testosterone, something completely out of her control, and still, she worked on it. She didn't ignore it. She went on a 6-month treatment plan, actively trying to get her body, her energy, and her desire back in sync. And guess what? It was working. They'd been reconnecting. Their intimacy had been improving. She even felt proud of herself for pushing through something most people never talk about out loud. So, to hear that he cheated, not during their lowest point, but right when things were getting better, that's the kind of betrayal that messes with your head. And let's not forget the kicker. His ex had cheated on him. It devastated him. It shaped him. It left scars so deep that Ryder never even imagined he'd do the same thing to someone else. But here we are. Now Ryder's stuck in that impossible place. Half of her wants to walk away. Because if he could do this when things were finally starting to improve, what will stop him next time? And yet, there's that other half, the part that remembers the late night talks, the shared plans, the apartment they live in, the vision board of their future that now feels like it's on fire. Because when someone cheats, it doesn't just destroy trust, it burns the version of the future you thought was real. Now, she's left asking the hard questions, questions she didn't have the strength to ask in that first stunned moment. And that's the thing about being cheated on. It's not just the act, it's the fallout. It's the loop of why that plays in your mind like a broken record. It's wondering if you weren't enough, even when you were giving everything you had. But let's be very clear here, wasn't neglecting him. She was fighting her own body. She was fighting exhaustion, and still she was fighting for them. She showed up. She got vulnerable. She pushed through the awkwardness and discomfort of trying to reignite their sex life. And right when it started to get better, he blew it. With a stranger, on a work trip, while drunk. And then he had the audacity to say he just needed attention. Here's what needs to be said, because not enough people say it. Being neglected does not give you permission to betray someone. If you're struggling in your relationship, you open your mouth. You have hard conversations. You fight for what you said you wanted. You don't go out and sleep with someone else. That's not needing attention. That's choosing ego over love. That's cowardice dressed up as vulnerability. And now Ryder has to make a decision. Does she stay, try to rebuild something shattered, try to trust him again, knowing that the person who once held her pain in his hands just used his own as an excuse? Or does she walk away? Not because it's easy, but because maybe, just maybe, her peace is worth more than any second chance. There's no right answer here, only the truth. Ryder deserved more. She deserved the truth before the betrayal. She deserved patience when her body wasn't aligning with her heart. She deserved love that didn't flinch when things got hard. Now she's staring down the hardest question of all. Is love enough when trust is dead? And only she can answer that. Wife being praised angers me more when only I know the truth. This one hurts differently. It's not the kind of pain that punches you in the face. It's slower, heavier. It lingers in your chest, it builds up behind your eyes, and it rots your stomach from the inside out. Because Ryder isn't just dealing with betrayal. He's watching the person who betrayed him get celebrated for being strong, inspiring, and triumphant, while he quietly carries the weight of what she did behind the scenes. Let's rewind a bit. Ryder had posted here before about the dead bedroom, about the emotional distance, about how things between him and his wife weren't just strained, they were collapsing in silence. But then came Jason. Yes, Jason, a guy his wife used to hook up with over a decade ago, suddenly popping back into her life. Digitally, of course. And this wasn't some, hey, how have you been? Conversation. No, this was straight up flirting, kissing fantasies, him saying he wanted to touch her talking about how much she wanted to kiss him. And through it all, Ryder sat there, holding his phone, reading every word. The person he built a life with, the woman he trusted to raise children with, to grow old with, was emotionally reaching out to a man from her past, like the life they built together meant nothing. Now here's where things get worse, because nobody knows. Ryder hasn't outed her. He told only 2 people, his sister and his wife's sister-in-law, both of whom had gone through eerily similar betrayals. But other than that, silence. To the outside world, everything looks perfect. The social media posts are full of smiles, encouragement, motivational captions. Ryder's wife recently participated in the Tough Mudder Challenge. You know, one of those grueling, muddy obstacle courses that test your endurance and strength. She posted the photos on Facebook, and the comments rolled in like a tsunami of praise. You go, girl. Such a warrior. You're amazing. Power couple energy. And Ryder? He's sitting there, scrolling with rage bubbling under the surface, because none of them know. Not one of those cheerleaders has the slightest clue that the same woman they're hyping up was sexting another man just a week and a half ago. That she told someone else she wanted his hands on her. That she had mentally left her marriage, but still put on the costume of a loyal wife for everyone to applaud. And then, the moment of weakness. Or maybe the moment of truth. Ryder, after a few beers and drowning in frustration, finally snapped. He commented under her picture. Publicly, he didn't hold back. Something like, I was with the kids that day. Was Jason there to see you at the finish line? The guy you've been sexting and saying you want to kiss? Boom, right there. Under her big celebration post. 10 minutes later, he deleted it. Not because he was wrong, but because maybe it wasn't the right time or place. Or maybe it was. But he didn't want to be the one to set fire to the house, even if it was already burning inside. But the damage was done. Her best friend saw it. She messaged him right away, confused, alarmed. And Ryder? He didn't lie. He laid it all out. Told her exactly what had been going on. The best friend, shocked, texted his wife about it. And now the secret has started to seep through the cracks. But here's the emotional war zone Ryder is stuck in. Part of him wants the world to know, wants the mask to come off, wants every comment on that Facebook post to be replaced with silence, or better yet, honesty. Wants her to be forced to own what she did, just like he has to own the pain every single day. But another part of him knows if he goes full scorched earth, it's not just her reputation on the line, it's her friendships, her family relationships, her job, maybe, the kids, and maybe even his own peace of mind. Because once you expose someone like that publicly, there's no going back. And Ryder, He's already living in the aftermath. Now he's sitting with the question that eats away at a lot of people who've been cheated on. Do I pull the curtain back? Do I tell everyone what really happened? Do I let them keep praising someone who destroyed me in private? And worse, what kind of person does that make me? This story isn't just about cheating. It's about injustice, about watching the person who wounded you be admired, respected, loved, while you're left picking up pieces in the dark. It's about the silent scream that so many betrayed partners carry, the feeling of being erased while the cheater walks around like nothing ever happened. Like the guilt they cried about was just a phase and everything's back to normal. Ryder's not crazy for wanting people to know. He's not petty. He's human. And for anyone who's ever been in his shoes, let me ask you, what would you have done? Would you have left the comment up, let the truth bleed into her picture-perfect timeline, or deleted it and stayed silent, letting the world keep applauding a lie? Because sometimes the worst part of betrayal is pretending it never happened just to keep the peace. And that peace doesn't feel like peace at all. Title: Girlfriend cheated with her girl best friend. You ever get hit with something that feels so surreal you're not even sure how to react? Like your brain hears it, but your body refuses to process it. That's exactly what happened to Ryder. This wasn't a tabloid headline. This wasn't a maybe it's not what it seems situation. This was real. Ryder's girlfriend, someone he trusted, someone he kissed goodnight over the phone just hours before, cheated on him. And not with some guy at a bar, not some coworker she'd been texting too much, but with her girl best friend. Yeah, that same best friend who's been around, the one you never really thought twice about. Because we're conditioned not to, right? It's just a girlfriend. They're just close. But close turned into something else. She admitted it, straight up. They messed around. Oral, scissoring. That wasn't a slip of the tongue. That's deliberate. That's intentional. That's not a drunken kiss you blame on too many shots. That's full-on intimacy with someone who wasn't her partner, with someone she swore loyalty to in one breath and betrayed in another. But here's what hits hardest. They didn't even think about Ryder. Not once, not during, not after. Their post-cheating conversation wasn't, "What have we done?" or "I feel horrible for Ryder." No, it was, "Oh, I don't like tits as much as I thought." Like it was an experiment, a casual test run. Like the person waiting at home, loving her, trusting her, wasn't even part of the equation, just an afterthought. Let's be real, that's not just betrayal, that's erasure. It's emotional ghosting in the middle of a committed relationship, and somehow it gets worse. After she told him, after she dropped this emotional nuke, she broke down crying. She told Ryder she felt disgusted with herself. She told him she was suicidal, as if her own guilt was now his job to carry. As if unloading her pain could magically make this his burden too. That's manipulation wearing a mask of remorse. And yet Ryder forgave her. Because that's what love does, right? It hopes, it clings. It wants to believe that a person's guilt means they're still good inside. That maybe, just maybe, this was a horrible one-time mistake. And for a while it looked like things were healing. She was affectionate, attentive. She gave Ryder the kind of love people write about in poems. For a moment, it felt like redemption. But love that comes out of guilt, it doesn't last. Because guilt burns fast, and when the fire dies down, what's left? Distance, disconnection. And that's what happened. Slowly, things slid back to the way they were before. The emotional investment, gone. The intimacy, fading. And then came the real kicker. She said she wanted him to hate her. Imagine hearing that from the person you've forgiven. The person you took back after they broke your heart. She was trying to sabotage herself, maybe out of shame, maybe because she couldn't look him in the eye anymore without seeing what she did. Either way, she confessed she wanted to cut everyone off, and to her credit, she did. She blocked the friend, cut off the others, but still, it felt empty. And now Ryder's left sitting in the rubble, asking the question no one ever wants to face. Did I make a mistake forgiving her? Was it redemption, or was it just relief on her end? Did she tell him because she wanted to repair the damage, or because the weight of the secret was too much for her? That's the cruel twist in situations like this. Sometimes people confess not to heal the relationship, but to lighten their own conscience. And in doing so, they dump all that emotional weight onto the one person they already betrayed. That's why Ryder feels played. Because deep down, there's this echo that won't go away. Did she come clean to make things right? Or just to make herself feel better? And let's be honest, when someone cheats, it shatters more than trust. It breaks how you see them. It rewrites your memories. Suddenly, every good moment has a shadow over it. Every laugh you shared now feels tainted. And the worst part, you start to question yourself. Was I not enough? Did I miss the signs? Am I weak for staying? But the truth is, Ryder's not weak. He loved someone deeply. He believed in second chances. And that takes strength, not foolishness. It takes heart. But now it's about more than just what she did. It's about what comes next. Because here's the reality. Love without respect isn't love. And guilt without growth, it doesn't mean much. So what should Ryder do? Maybe it's time to stop carrying someone else's shame. Maybe it's time to stop asking if forgiving her was the right thing and start asking if she ever truly earned it, because healing can't be one-sided. And a relationship built on pain can't survive unless both people are willing to do the hard work of rebuilding it. But in this case, it sounds like only one person was even trying. "32F and husband 39M need help navigating emotional fallout after a threesome in my marriage." This isn't the kind of story people tell over coffee. It's the kind that lingers in silence, the kind that starts with a whisper, spirals into a storm, and leaves you wondering when exactly love got so tangled. The writer is a 32-year-old woman who's been married for 7 years. They share a child, a life, a home, what many would call stability. But behind those walls was a recurring conversation, one that chipped away at her comfort little by little. Her husband, 39, had a fixation, a threesome, specifically MFM. It wasn't a passing fantasy or a one-time suggestion. This was a drumbeat, constant, insistent. Over the years, it became the background noise in their sex life. Threesome porn, casual mentions, even during intimacy, it was always there. She wasn't into it, not at first. But when someone you love keeps pushing something, it starts to wear you down. Not because you're weak, but because you trust them. You want to make them happy. And that's exactly what the writer tried to do. After years of hearing it, she finally said yes. 2 weeks ago, they booked a hotel. The husband arranged for a man to join them. There was no deep conversation, no boundaries set, no real emotional preparation, just the long-awaited moment he'd talked about for years. And it happened. Twice. They were intimate, all three together. But then something shifted. Later that night, while lying in bed, the other man reached for her again. This time, her husband said he was tired, not up for more. Told her to go ahead, so she did, a third time, just the two of them. And in that moment, what was meant to be his fantasy suddenly became her crime. Because by the next morning, everything changed. The warmth was gone. The laughter, the safety, the man who once pushed for this with such intensity was now cold, distant, unreadable. It took 2 days for the truth to come out. He told the writer he felt like she had cheated on him, that she crossed a line, that she wanted the other man more, the man he brought in, the man he selected, the man he told her to sleep with when he stepped away. Suddenly, she was the villain in the story he wrote. The betrayal he spent years fantasizing about, now he saw it, and he hated it. What followed was silence, tension, 19 days of no intimacy, barely speaking, co-parenting in coldness, and the writer, she's drowning in guilt, confusion, resentment. How did she become the one apologizing? She gave him something deeply personal, something that came with discomfort, doubt, and trust. And in return, she was punished. She tried to fix it. She left him a handwritten note apologizing for everything. Even though she didn't plan this alone, even though he was the architect, she poured her heart into that letter, placed it on his bedside table, hoping it might soften something in him. That night, she cried, and the next morning, while their son still slept, she broke down again, right in front of him, told him she couldn't keep living like this, asked the question no one ever wants to ask, "Are you going to divorce me?" And the answer was no. He said he didn't want a divorce, but he also couldn't go back. Not yet. Maybe not ever. He asked her not to initiate anything intimate. It still brings up too much. So she agreed. Later that day, they ate breakfast together. No words. No apologies, just quiet. But sometimes, even quiet can feel like a step forward. Now, the writer is stuck in that emotional no man's land where nothing is broken enough to leave, but nothing feels whole enough to stay. She's stuck between her own resentment and her longing for repair. Her husband says he's hurt, but what about her? What about the years she listened to him push for something she wasn't ready for? This isn't just about sex. This is about pressure, about trust, about what happens when fantasies become real and how unprepared some people are for the consequences of their own desires. The writer never wanted this to be the story of her marriage, but now she's living it, and she's the one picking up the emotional pieces. She's asking herself the question that's ripping through so many modern relationships. When trust is shaken, when roles reverse, how do you begin again? Because even if there's love, is it enough? So I'm turning it to you, our listeners. If your partner pushed for a threesome, arranged it, approved it in real time, but then turned on you emotionally afterward, what would you do? Is there a path back from this kind of fallout, or has the foundation already cracked too deep? Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you've been in a situation where trust and desire clash like this, your voice matters. Speak up. If this story pulled at your heart, subscribe for more real, raw relationship journeys. And don't forget to like, because stories like these, they deserve to be heard. Caught my mother cheating. This one doesn't start like most cheating stories. There's no suspicious text, no mysterious perfume, no late night calls. No, this one starts at the gym. 2 years ago, the writer's mom suddenly wanted to start working out with him. It seemed harmless, maybe even sweet. A mother trying to bond with her son, trying to feel youthful again. She even joked about wanting a firmer booty. Her words, not his. And the writer didn't think twice. Who would? It was just a mom trying to better herself. But hindsight hits different when the truth comes out. Fast forward 2 years, the routines had shifted, their schedules no longer aligned, so she began going to the gym alone. A small change. Innocent enough, until it wasn't. One Monday, the writer skips the gym. His dad's at home watching TV, and he decides to go for a run around town instead. It's a small place, tight-knit, quiet, the kind of town where everyone knows everyone. He ends up near the high school, near the soccer field, where a new parking lot had been built a while back for bus drivers. Out by the edge of town, tucked near the freeway, the cornfields, and the dairy. As the sun starts to set, the writer wraps up his run and heads toward the exit. He opens the gate to leave the field, and what he sees next? It stops him cold. There, parked beside the lot, is a white Lexus, his mother's Lexus, the only one like it in town. And right behind that Lexus is his mom, with a man, locked in a kiss. Not a warm, sweet kiss. No, this was desperate, passionate, the kind of kiss you don't give someone unless you've been sneaking around. She's with a school bus driver, the kind that works grounds and transport. And as if the kiss wasn't enough, the writer watches frozen as his mother walks to her car and drops her dress right there in front of this man. Let that sink in. The writer, just trying to go for a jog in his hometown, stumbles across his own mother cheating in broad daylight at the high school, near the field where kids play soccer. Imagine the kind of gut punch that is. In that moment, he panics. Is that really her? Is this real? Is that really the guy driving one of the school's pickup trucks? But it's her car, her face, her body language, the way she moved. There was no denying it. And he couldn't watch anymore, couldn't stomach another second of it. So he ran, through the high school grounds, out the main entrance, trying to breathe, trying not to fall apart. He gets home. His dad is still watching TV, none the wiser. The writer asks where his mom is. Working late, his dad says without a second thought. Right. Working late. She comes home around 10 p.m. Calm, unbothered, like nothing had happened, like she hadn't just destroyed the trust of both her husband and her son in one filthy backseat moment. And the writer? He doesn't say a word. He crawls into bed, eyes wide open, haunted by the image of the woman who raised him stripping for another man like it was just another Monday. He still hasn't told his father, and now he's here. Pouring it out online, asking the only question that matters when a secret this big is burning a hole through your chest. What do I do? Here's the brutal truth. This isn't just about cheating. This is about betrayal that hits where you never expect it. From the people who are supposed to protect you, from someone who tucked you in as a child, helped with your homework, told you to always be honest. It's not just the marriage that's shattered, it's the family, the sense of safety, the illusion that things were fine. The writer is now carrying the weight of a secret that doesn't even belong to him. He didn't ask for it, didn't earn it. But now he's drowning in it. And what makes this even worse? It wasn't just a mistake. This wasn't a drunken one-night slip. No, his mother planned this. She knew what she was doing. She left her husband home, lied about working late, met a man at the edge of town, and went through with it. The white Lexus wasn't parked by accident. That dress didn't fall off by surprise. And now the writer's left wondering, do I tell him? Do I destroy my father's world? Or do I protect him from the pain I can't even unsee myself? So I'll ask you, what would you do? Would you stay silent, hoping the guilt eats her from the inside out? Or would you blow the whole thing wide open and let the truth finally crash down on everyone? Let us know in the comments below. And if you've ever had to keep someone else's dirty secret, if you've ever carried the weight of a lie that could break a family, then you already know that silence is its own kind of heartbreak. Caught wife cheating with her boss. This story doesn't start in a courtroom or some scandalous gossip column. It starts like most betrayals do, with love, trust, and absolutely no warning signs. The writer, a 35-year-old man, tall, successful, living what many would call the good life, had what looked like a picture-perfect marriage. His wife, younger, striking, radiant, the kind of woman who turns heads at every party, blonde, blue-eyed, glowing with that sun-kissed kind of beauty. People noticed her. A lot. But the writer, he wasn't insecure. He didn't hover. He loved her and he trusted her. They had built a life together. They had history, memories, comfort, all those things that are supposed to mean safety in a relationship. And then he decided to do something sweet. A little surprise, one of those spontaneous romantic gestures you see in movies, coming home a day early from a work trip, excited to see her face light up. Only it wasn't her face he walked in on. The house was blasting music, loud, like someone was trying to drown out the sound of guilt. Upstairs, the door was cracked, and inside, what the writer saw wasn't just betrayal, it was humiliation, rage, devastation. His wife, on their bed, bent over, being taken from behind by her boss, a man twice her age. Twice. Let that sink in. And suddenly, the entire reality he thought he was living shattered in a single silent second. Because when you love someone, truly love them, you never imagine them as the villain in your story. But there she was. The details are hard, not just because of the physical act, but because of what it meant. She let this man, her superior at work, into their home, into their bed. The same bed where the writer probably kissed her goodnight, dreamt beside her, told her he loved her. And worse, she did it like it was normal. Like there wasn't a whole life crumbling just outside the bedroom door. A week has passed. She's staying at her sister's. She's resigned from her job. She's been begging for the writer to take her back. And here's where the emotional war really begins. Because love doesn't always die with betrayal. Sometimes it just sits there, bruised and confused, not knowing which way to run. The writer loves her. That's the hardest part. He didn't just lose his wife. He lost the version of her he thought was real. Now he's left with pieces of his heart, of his marriage, of his identity. And he has to decide, is love enough? Or is trust, once broken, something that never truly repairs? Let's be real. A resignation letter and a few apologies don't erase what happened. And sorry can't rewind the moment he walked in and saw his world collapse in motion. But when you've loved someone deeply, it's not about grieving what could have been, what was supposed to be. Was it a moment of weakness on her part, a pattern, something deeper? Or was it about power, giving herself to a man who could offer something more? Or was it about escape? Whatever the reason, the consequences are real. Now the writer sits in the rubble, trying to decide whether to rebuild or walk away for good. And here's the thing nobody tells you. When someone cheats, they don't just steal your peace, they steal your future. Because now everything is a question mark. Will you ever trust again? Will you ever see them the same way? Will intimacy ever feel safe? These aren't easy questions, and there's no universal answer. But to the writer, and anyone who's ever stood in front of a shattered relationship, this much is true. You didn't deserve that pain. You didn't deserve to become a spectator in your own heartbreak. And whether you choose forgiveness or finality, you're not weak. You're healing. Caught my husband cheating on a work trip with coworker. There's a moment where everything shifts, where reality snaps clean in half, and suddenly you're looking at someone you thought you knew, someone you chose, and wondering, who the hell are you? For the writer, that moment happened not in a hotel lobby or a dramatic confrontation, but slowly, painfully. It unfolded like a story she never wanted to read. Her husband, 28, a father, a partner, someone who vowed loyalty, had gone on a work trip to Miami. Standard stuff. Nothing suspicious. The writer stayed behind, holding down the fort, taking care of their life, their family, their children. But while she was at home keeping their world running, he was building a secret life, one message at a time. It started with dinner. Harmless, right? A work colleague. A professional setting. Except the woman he went out with, she was 40 years old, married, and fully aware he was a husband himself. A double betrayal waiting to happen. And this wasn't some cold one-time slip-up. This was calculated, because dinner turned into texting. And the texting turned into something else. Not work talk. Not even friendly banter. We're talking showers, lingerie, massages, stuff you don't even joke about unless lines are already being crossed. And believe me, the line was miles behind them by the time he was calling her mi amor and honey. You don't call someone mi amor unless you're playing pretending this is real, pretending you're not married, pretending that your kids, your vows, your life don't exist just outside the hotel room. And yeah, he invited her to that hotel. Now they both claim they didn't sleep together. Classic move, right? The we kissed but nothing else happened routine. But the writer, she's not naive. She saw the messages. She read every word. The flirting, the buildup, the intimacy, it was all there. And whether they sealed the deal or not, the betrayal had already happened. Kissing her at work, texting behind her back, inviting this woman, this married woman, to his hotel room. That's not a mistake. That's a decision, repeated, intentional. And the worst part, she's now left holding the wreckage, not just of her marriage, but of her trust, her self-worth, her sense of reality. Because when your partner does this, everything gets questioned. Was anything real? She's traumatized. Not heartbroken, no, that word's too soft. She's disgusted. She can't look at him, can't sleep near him, can't bear the thought of his hands, his words, his presence. And guess what? Now he's having panic attacks. Now he's crying, begging, breaking down. Funny how the tears only come after the damage is done. Now he's scared of losing her, terrified. But where was that fear when he was texting another woman about massages? Where was that dread when he was kissing her at work? Regret only seems to show up after the choice has already burned everything to the ground. The writer, though, she's standing at a crossroads, and this one's brutal because they have kids. This isn't just about leaving a partner, it's about breaking a family. It's not as simple as walking out the door. There are birthdays, bedtime stories, school pickups, family photos, and somehow she has to figure out how to move forward in a life that no longer looks like the one she imagined. She told him she wants separation. And honestly, that's not even a punishment. That's survival. That's her drawing a line in the sand and saying, you don't get to ruin me just because you ruined yourself. She's not asking for easy answers. She's not even sure what to feel anymore. Hurt, furious, numb. But what she knows for sure is this: the version of love where you trust someone completely and believe they'd never choose to hurt you, that version is dead. And the man she married, she doesn't recognize him anymore. So now she's asking, how do you move on when there are kids involved? How do you heal from betrayal when you have to co-parent with the person who broke you? How do you even begin to trust again? Not just them, but yourself. Because that's the cruelest part of betrayal. It doesn't just make you doubt them, it makes you doubt your own judgment. And she deserves better than this. Every single viewer watching this, you, knows this isn't just about one moment of cheating. This is about the ripple effect, the destruction it causes, the pain that sits in your chest at 3 a.m. when your kids are asleep and your heart won't let you rest. So to the writer, whatever you choose next, whether it's healing alone or trying to rebuild, just know you're not the one who failed. You're the one who had everything taken from her and still stood up. That takes more strength than he'll ever understand. After months of fighting to fix our marital issues, she admitted. It's the kind of heartbreak that doesn't announce itself with screaming or slammed doors. No, this one crept in quietly, slowly, over months of confusion and pain disguised as hope. The writer had been married for 4 years, together with his wife for nearly 7. And despite all the noise, miscommunication, and unsatisfying sex life financial tension, he never stopped believing in the love they had. He believed in their friendship, their connection, their story. But last November, something shifted. She started talking about separation, divorce, not just casually. It was like she'd made up her mind. And sure, they had their problems. What couple doesn't? But when someone who once clung to you with love now looks at you like a stranger, you start to lose your footing. That's what happened to the writer. Still, he didn't give up. He fought. He gave her space, hoping the silence would be loud enough to remind her of what they were losing. And for a while, it seemed like it worked. They agreed she'd come back into town one last time to see if divorce really was the right path. No pressure, just truth, time, clarity. The paperwork was filled out, her bags were packed, she was supposed to leave tomorrow, but she hadn't filed yet, hadn't walked away. And in that limbo, the writer saw sparks, familiarity, laughter, conversations that cut deep, raw, difficult, real. It felt like they were finding each other again, rebuilding something from the ashes. And then she said it, not gently, not rehearsed, but through tears, raw and crumbling. She told the writer that in December, she slept with her ex. Not just a conversation, not just an emotional connection. She had sex with someone else, while the writer was still clinging to hope, still believing this was a storm they could weather. She confessed that she didn't want to get divorced, but thought maybe she had to. She didn't want to tell him the truth, because in her words, she wanted to protect him. Let's pause there. Protect him. From what? From knowing that while he was fighting for them, while he was pouring every ounce of strength into proving they were worth saving, she had already crossed the line, had already shared a bed with a ghost from the past. That's not protection. That's control. That's trying to manage the consequences of a betrayal so deep, so personal, it changes your reflection in the mirror. And here's the brutal part. The writer still loves her, even now, even after everything. He sees her pain, her regret. He's never seen her cry like this. He knows she's hurting. But the question that's tearing him apart isn't whether she's sorry, it's whether sorry matters. Because love without trust, that's not love. That's a trap. And yet, how do you walk away from someone who's been your best friend for 7 years? Someone whose laughter lives in your memory like a melody you can't unhear? Someone you once dreamed about growing old with? The writer has been fighting to prove their marriage could survive anything. But now, in the 11th hour, he's left wondering if this is the one thing it can't survive. Her car is packed. Tomorrow, she's supposed to leave. So now the writer is standing on the edge of 2 lives, one where he forgives and fights, and one where he lets her go forever. And maybe what hurts the most is that there's no clear villain here, just 2 people, both broken in different ways, tangled in the wreckage of a love they both thought would last forever. So what now? Can this kind of betrayal really be healed? There's no blueprint for rebuilding trust after infidelity, no checklist, no guarantee. The road is steep, ugly, full of emotional lines, and even if you both want it, sometimes love just isn't enough. But sometimes it is. The question isn't whether it's possible. The question is whether the writer can look at her and not see that December night every time he closes his eyes, and whether she's truly ready to do the brutal soul-bearing work of earning forgiveness, not just once, but every day. So I'll leave this with you. Would you fight, or would you let her walk away? Is love something you can rebuild after it's been burned down? Or is it better to start over alone with scars instead of lies? Let us know in the comments. And if you've ever loved someone who broke your heart but still made it beat, you already know. Sometimes the hardest goodbye is the one you still don't want to say. Like, comment, and don't forget to subscribe for more real stories that hit hard and don't hold back. It's been about a month since I caught her. There's something so cruel about betrayal when it comes dressed in routine, in comfort, in someone's arms. The writer had been with his fiancée for nearly 8 years. 8 years of shared milestones, private jokes, sleepy mornings, and future plans that felt solid enough to build a life on. They were engaged. Only 2 months in, and yet the foundation already had cracks. Small at first, but then came the earthquake. That haunts him. It started like any other. They held each other, whispered promises, said, "I love you," like they meant it. The writer, fully trusting the woman next to him, kissed her goodnight, turned over, and behind his back, she made plans with another man for the next day. Just like that. No warning shot, no explosion, just a quiet knife between the ribs. It wasn't just any betrayal either. She had been cheated on before. So had the writer. They knew what that kind of pain felt like, how it shatters your sense of reality. And yet, she did it anyway. Just a month before, she said cheaters disgusted her. The hypocrisy wasn't just ironic, it was gut-wrenching, and things had been off. The writer noticed she'd become colder, distant, mean even, but she always blamed the stress of wedding planning. Writer, like most people trying to protect what they love, believed her. Believed in the version of her that cried about wanting to get married, have kids, build a future. She was the one who'd pushed for all of it. And then suddenly, she wasn't. Right after trying on wedding dresses, she wanted to postpone the wedding. Not cancel. Just put it on pause. A red flag dressed in politeness. Still, the writer was willing to fight. Couples counseling was scheduled. Hope wasn't dead yet, just limping. But then came the night that changed everything. The writer got up to use the restroom in the middle of the night, and something, call it intuition, call it divine gut instinct, told him to check her phone. Not to invade privacy, but because something in his bones screamed, "Look." And there it was. The messages were right there, wide open, like her conscience didn't even care to close the tab. They were picking up from a deleted conversation, but even what was left was damning, filthy, personal, calculated, and somehow through the shock, the writer had the presence of mind to take screenshots, because even then, he must have known she'd try to cover her tracks. And she did. She deleted the messages right after. But too late. The truth was already out. She admitted to the flirting. Claimed it started just days before she went wedding dress shopping. Claimed they hadn't done anything physical yet. Claimed she resented the writer and bonded with this other guy over their problems. Even said her best friend, their supposed biggest fan, had encouraged her to leave him. Let that sink in. This wasn't just a mistake. This was premeditated betrayal. Cheating with a support system. They broke up that day. There wasn't even room for second chances. Just the finality of knowing she had emotionally checked out long before she physically did. And now they're no contact, except for the awkward loose ends of shared bills. And here's the twist. As brutal as the truth was, it freed him. Because if she had simply broken up with him, he probably would have chased her. Held on to hope. Tried to fix something already beyond repair. But this was unforgivable. This lit the match and burned down the illusion. And in the wreckage, the writer began to realize something. He is a catch. Not in an arrogant way, but in a quietly powerful, affirming way. Friends and even strangers have been reminding him that he's funny, sweet, goofy, smart, stable. He has worth. He's lovable. Still, that doesn't erase the pain. It doesn't stop his thumb from hovering over her name in his contacts when he's at his lowest, until he remembers she made him delete it. And now she has to live with the truth. She was a cheating fiancé. Not just someone who made a mistake, but someone who, when she held everything she said she ever wanted, still went looking elsewhere. So no, Ryder isn't an idiot for loving her. He's human, he's loyal, he was willing to put in the work. But what she did, that's on her. And to anyone out there wondering if betrayal always means weakness, take a note from the writer. He walked away with his dignity intact and left her to sit in the mess she created. Would you have walked away too, or tried to forgive the person who shattered everything? Let me know in the comments. And if you've ever felt that kind of heartbreak, you're not alone. Like, comment, and don't forget to subscribe for more real, raw stories like this one. Title: Boyfriend cheating with baby mama. Let's not sugarcoat it. This story is messy, real-life soap opera messy. We're talking overlapping relationships, jail time, baby mamas, shared cars, burned iPhones, the whole chaotic cocktail. And at the center of it all, one man. Let's call him M. Ryder and M have been off and on for a while now, but this particular round of their relationship has lasted a year. Sounds solid, right? Except M has 2 kids with his baby mama, let's call her S. And the history there? It's like flipping through chapters of betrayal, rebounds, and receipts. Here's where it starts twisting. M's first cheated on C with Ryder while C was pregnant with their second child. Let that settle for a second. This wasn't a blindside. Ryder admits she knew about C and knew she was pregnant. There's a history here too. Ryder used to be friends with C's sister back in high school, which makes the betrayal a little more tangled. But emotions don't always follow morals. Sometimes they just bulldoze through them. And M, he's no rookie in the cheating game. Throughout his 8-year relationship with C, he didn't just cheat with Ryder. He also got involved with Ryder's friend, who just so happened to be the baby mama of M's own friend. Let's call him A. It's like everyone's dating in a circle, and nobody's loyal to anyone. First time Ryder and M split, M lands in jail. And who bails him out? Not Ryder, not his friend. C does! The same woman he cheated on, with the help of his dad, no less. And just like that, they're back together. Meanwhile, Ryder moves to California. Distance, space, clean break, not a chance. She comes back, and like clockwork, M comes crawling back too. They reignite the spark before C even gives birth. That's right, he skips out on seeing his own son being born just to be with Ryder. And for a second, it feels like things are shifting in Ryder's favor. But then reality hits. C calls up Ryder, cool as anything, and tells her she left her ID in her car. Like, excuse me. How deep does this entanglement go? Imagine being in a relationship where your ID is left behind in your boyfriend's other girlfriend's car. And worse, you have to replace it because C sure as hell isn't giving it back. That could have been the end. Should have been the end. But this story doesn't do clean endings. Later, M starts hanging out with A again, and surprise, surprise, he's back with Ryder. But there's a snag. He and C share a car. So what does C do? She sets a rule. They can both use the car, but Ryder is banned from it. What happens next is straight out of a petty revenge scene. C finds Ryder's brand new iPhone in the car, and what does she do? Tosses it in a bumper at her job. Not a text, not a call. No, hey, come get your stuff. Just straight up destroys it at a nursing home. The level of pettiness is legendary. Ryder leaves town to visit her grandma, thinking maybe, just maybe, she'll finally get peace. But nah, M slides right back into old habits. He links up with A's baby mama this time, while still stringing C along. Is it cheating? Is it overlapping? At this point, it's just his routine. M gets thrown in jail again. Time passes. He tells Ryder he's single. Things are back on. Again, this time it feels different. He moves in, things are good. Ryder's thinking maybe the chaos is finally over. Then she leaves town again. And not even 24 hours later, the receipts start rolling in. Screenshots, a new number texting her. And right there, plain as day, a dick pic sent to none other than T. So now Ryder's sitting there, blindsided, again. The same baby mama who's been betrayed, manipulated, and dragged through this twisted loop just keeps coming back. And M? He's still playing both sides like it's a game of emotional ping pong. C is sending Ryder messages saying he still loves me, telling her you're crazy, and he still wants me. And the worst part? There's a custody battle coming up, and M's using that to play the devoted dad card. Suddenly, he doesn't want to leave his son. So when Ryder's grandma gifts them both tickets to Cali for her birthday, M doesn't go. But what does he do instead? Send nudes to C, while Ryder's celebrating with her family, trying to hold on to whatever sliver of peace she can. So here's the question. Is he cheating? Yes. Emotionally, physically, strategically. It's not even a question anymore. But there's a bigger question that writer, and honestly anyone in a situation like this, has to face. At what point does the cycle stop? Because this man, he's not changing. He's not torn. He's comfortable bouncing between women who enable him, clean up his messes, and take him back again and again. It's not just about loyalty, it's about survival. Ryder is stuck in a loop that only ends when he decides to break it, because M sure won't. He's got it too good. At the end of the day, this isn't just about C, or A, or jail, or dick pics. It's about respect. And M's been handing out lies like party favors while the women in his life keep trying to clean up the emotional disaster he leaves behind. So, Ryder, it's not just, is he cheating with his baby mama? It's, why does he still get the chance to? I think my girlfriend might be cheating. This story doesn't kick off with some dramatic discovery in a hotel room or lipstick on a collar. No, this one starts with something far more unsettling. A feeling, a smell, a quiet biological whisper that something might be wrong. The writer had been with his girlfriend. Things seemed fine. Not perfect, but nothing that screamed betrayal. Until one day he noticed it. Something off. Something that didn't smell right. Literally. Down there. Now, most people would have kept quiet, avoided that awkward conversation. But the writer, he was honest, upfront, told her straight, I think you should get tested. And to her credit, she did. She went in for tests, and sure enough, it came back. MGen, Mycoplasma genitalium. Not exactly a common term thrown around in everyday conversations, but one with weight, one that means something serious. And then came her explanation. She said she must have gotten it from him. That's where things shifted, because the writer, he's not a maybe kind of guy. He went straight to get tested. Everything came back clean. Not just once, but twice. He double-checked, like a man clinging to clarity in the middle of an emotional storm. Negative. Every time. Clean as could be. Now, MGen isn't like catching a cold. You don't just have it. You get it from someone. And for the writer, that realization was like a slow, steady crack forming in the foundation of his relationship. Not a dramatic collapse, but something worse. A lingering doubt. And doubt, let me tell you, can rot love from the inside out. He didn't accuse her, not outright. But the question lingered in the air. Have you been with someone else? She said no, swore it. But the problem is, when the science doesn't match the story, your heart starts picking fights with your brain. The writer doesn't want to believe she'd cheat. She's never acted shady. She's not the type, or at least she never seemed like the type. But then there's this. She's been low on money lately. She's applying for jobs. She's stressed, vulnerable. And that's when his mind starts going to places it doesn't want to go. He doesn't want to think worst case scenario, but he can't shake it either. The idea that maybe, just maybe, there's something she's not telling him. His friends, they've already made up their minds. Go through her phone, bro. Check her messages. Look for clues. You need to know. But here's where the writer stands out. He doesn't want to be that guy. The paranoid boyfriend snooping through private messages, hoping to catch something. Because once you open that door, you can't close it. You don't unsee the things you find. But is staying in the dark really better? Now he's caught between two hells. On one hand, she told him she didn't cheat. On the other, the facts, the tests, the medical proof, they're telling a different story. So what does he do? Because this isn't just about a positive result on a lab report. It's about trust. And once that cracks, everything else starts to shake. Maybe she was telling the truth. Maybe it's some weird medical fluke, or maybe it was a mistake at the clinic. But maybe, and this is the part that eats at the writer the most, maybe she's lying to his face and he's choosing to believe her because the alternative is just too painful. Because let's face it, when you love someone, you'll cling to any version of the truth that doesn't hurt. And that's where the writer is right now, sitting in that uncomfortable space between suspicion and loyalty, between protecting his peace and preserving his pride. What he's really asking isn't, is she cheating? It's, am I being naive? And it's a question that doesn't come with clean answers, because betrayal rarely does. Title, BF2M says he needs few hours to himself when IF deny him. All right, let's sit in this one for a minute. Because this isn't just about sex. This is about what happens when emotional maturity, expectations, and pressure all crash into each other in the most vulnerable place, intimacy. The writer starts us off with something that should be simple, but it's not. They've been in this relationship for 3 years, not a fling, not some casual thing. They've built time together, laughter, trust, routine, and yes, intimacy. And she says it plainly. She rarely says no. Every few months, maybe. That's not someone avoiding their partner. That's someone who shows up until their body or timing or comfort says, not right now. But on this particular day, Ryder was still game. Her boyfriend had just bought a new toy, something meant to make their experience smoother, something specifically to help her feel better, more relaxed. And Ryder, she was excited. She was open. She wanted to make it work. Then life happened. She got her period. So what did they do? Adjusted. Shower sex. Okay, let's make it work. Let's improvise. And she still tried to insert the toy, pushed through the awkwardness, gave effort until it just wasn't working. Her body said, not right now. So she offered a compromise. Let's just shower together. We'll try again after. Still soft, still warm, still caring. But what did he do? He shut down. Not just sulking a little, not just a disappointed sigh. No, he flat out ignored her. Ryder is left standing alone in the shower, typing this on her phone, soaking wet, confused, hurt, and wondering why saying not right now turned into an emotional punishment. Because that's what it is, emotional withdrawal, cold silence, making her feel guilty for having a human moment. Let's be real here. Saying no to sex, even gently, even just temporarily, should never be treated like a betrayal. This isn't about him being disappointed. That would be understandable. We're all human. We get let down sometimes. This is about how quickly his disappointment turned into emotional neglect. And then he hits her with the classic, I need a few hours to myself. Really? Over that? This isn't some huge relationship crisis. It's not infidelity. It's not betrayal. It's not abuse. It's not abuse. It's just her body needing a minute. But for him, apparently, that's enough to make her feel like she's done something wrong. You know what that sounds like? Pressure disguised as distance, emotional manipulation in soft tones. Because now Ryder isn't just processing physical discomfort, she's processing rejection, confusion, and this nagging feeling of, did I mess up? She didn't. Let's be clear. Being in a relationship does not mean your body is always available on demand. Saying no even once doesn't require a silent treatment cool-down session. But now she's left standing under hot water, wondering what she did wrong when all she did was honor her limits. And that part about he just needed a few hours to himself, that's not self-care. That's a silent punishment masked as space. And this isn't a one-off thing. Ryder's tone says this kind of behavior may be part of a larger pattern, a pattern where his needs are front and center and her boundaries come second. If she doesn't comply immediately, it's as if she's the villain. But here's the truth. She's not the villain. She's not even close. She tried. She was open. She communicated. She offered alternatives. And he shut the whole thing down because he didn't get what he wanted on the spot. This isn't about sex. This is about control and how easily affection can turn into manipulation when someone doesn't get their way. Ryder, wherever you are right now, whether you're still standing in that shower or long dried off, you are not wrong. You are not the bad guy. Your comfort matters. Your no is not a rejection. It's a boundary. And if someone can't handle a soft, respectful boundary without withdrawing love, affection, or basic conversation, that's not partnership. That's punishment dressed up as disappointment. To everyone watching or listening to this, ask yourself this. Is your partner allowed to say no without fear of retribution? Because if they're not, that's not love. That's control. So no, Ryder isn't asking for too much. She's just asking for the bare minimum of emotional maturity. And sadly, in moments like these, that already feels like too much to expect. Title, BF30M left in the middle of the night because I 22F wasn't in the bed with him. Last night, Ryder's boyfriend, 30 years old, slept over at her place. They've been together for 6 months. Not long, but long enough to know each other's quirks, and maybe long enough to catch the first real glimpse of the red flags fluttering under the surface. Now, Ryder's apartment isn't exactly a palace. Small bed in the bedroom, a pull-out couch that's bigger but still not luxury. They usually sleep on the pull-out when he visits. It's a little tradition, a routine. But last night, things broke from routine. It's 1 a.m. and Ryder is drifting off. She's tired, so she curls up in her regular bed. It's closer. It's easier. The couch isn't pulled out yet, and sleep is calling her fast. Her boyfriend warns her, not in a joking, lighthearted tone, but seriously, "Don't fall asleep. I want us to sleep together on the pull-out." Ryder says she won't, but of course sleep takes her anyway. She's out. And then something strange happens. Something small but loaded. Half asleep in that groggy, blurry headspace between dreams and waking, Ryder remembers him asking her to move to the couch, just a few feet away. But she's tired, cranky, not exactly at her best. She tells him no over and over, maybe even snaps at him a little. That's happened before, sure, but usually he just picks her up and moves her. They laugh about it. It's a thing. But this time, he doesn't. This time, he disappears. Ryder wakes up a little while later. The apartment is dark. She stumbles over to the couch, expecting him to be there, but he's not. And not just not there, gone. No sign of him. His stuff? Vanished. The front door? Unlocked. In the middle of the night. Now the panic sets in. Did something happen? Is he okay? Why would he just leave without saying anything? She calls. No answer. 5, 6 times. She texts. Finally, when the morning comes, he responds. He left. And not because of some emergency or miscommunication. He left because, in his words, "You lied to me and then got angry." He claims he warned her, "I'm not staying unless you sleep in the same bed with me." And since she didn't move, he bounced. That's it. That was his line in the sand. Ryder's left hurt, confused. Is she the villain here for not walking a few feet, or did he just massively overreact? It's a strange feeling when someone you love punishes you for being unconscious. When you wake up to an empty apartment and realize someone couldn't wait until morning to have a conversation. And just when you think it couldn't get weirder, there's an update. Ryder finally texts him, says she needs space, time to think. And that's when the apologies start pouring in. He says he was hurt, that Ryder yelled at him, that she cursed at him, that she told him the bed was better and he was pissing her off. He says he thought it'd be worse to try and move her. He thought she'd be even angrier. So he left. He also says, and this is wild, that he thought the door locked behind him. Thought, not checked. Not made sure, just thought. In the middle of the night, with Ryder inside alone. Let that sink in. There's a lot being said in these updates. Quotes about how he was doing damage control on his sleeping time and how he didn't want to text or leave a note because he might say something he'd regret. It's clear he's trying to backpedal, to smooth things over, but something just feels off. Ryder then addresses the elephant in the room, the age gap. She's 22, he's 30. That's not always a problem, but here it might be telling. Because emotional regulation, that shouldn't be an 8-year difference. That's basic maturity. She says he's never dated someone younger before, that his last relationship was healthy, that this isn't a pattern, but even she wonders. If she were 30, would she date a 22-year-old? Then comes the final update. Ryder is deleting the post soon. It blew up bigger than she expected. Too many opinions, too many strangers projecting their own stories onto hers. And honestly, fair enough. She says he's not abusive, just immature, a man baby. Not cruel, but not someone who should have left her in that way. And she's not innocent either. She's got her own baggage, anger, depression, hard to open up. But she deserves someone loving, someone safe, someone who doesn't walk out in the middle of the night and leave the door unlocked because their feelings got hurt. And that's the heartbreak here. This wasn't a fight. This was someone falling asleep and waking up alone, wondering why love came with conditions. Ryder ends it clearly. She still doesn't know if it's a deal breaker, but she knows she needs space. Because love doesn't leave you vulnerable at 3 a.m. because you were too sleepy to move. Commentary. This isn't a story about a huge betrayal. It's not about infidelity or violence, but it is about something deeper and more subtle. Emotional immaturity. Insecurity weaponized into control. That kind of love, it chips away at you slowly. Sometimes it's not the screaming matches or the lies that ruin a relationship, it's the quiet exits. The ones where someone packs their things while you sleep and doesn't even bother to make sure you're safe behind a locked door. The writer might still love him, might even forgive him, but this moment, it cracked something. And once that crack appears, the foundation's never quite the same.
Title:
My boyfriend 38M expects sexual favors during my 35F period week to the point where it causes tension and disagreements every month. This one hits different because it's not about cheating or betrayal, not in the traditional sense. It's about emotional erosion. It's about that slow, invisible drain in a relationship that nobody sees coming until you wake up one day and realize you're not just tired, you're resentful. The writer, 35F, is doing everything right. She's holding it all down, working, raising kids, managing a household, even squeezing in time at the gym when she can, which is no small feat in itself. She's not some lazy partner slacking off or making excuses. She's showing up every damn day. And yet, come period week, when her body is aching, her hormones are raging, and her soul is just flat out tired, suddenly, her effort isn't enough. Because her boyfriend, 38M, feels neglected if he doesn't get 15 minutes of intimacy during that week. His words, 15 minutes. Let's stop right there. 15 minutes. That's how he's measuring her love. Not in how she takes care of the kids, not in how she keeps the house running, or how she gets up, shows up, and pushes through cramps, exhaustion, and hormonal chaos. Nope. For him, love comes down to how fast she can perform in the bedroom, even when her body's screaming for rest. And here's the most infuriating part. Ryder isn't cold or distant. She's there for him 3 weeks out of the month. Their sex life is healthy by any standard. But when it's her time to rest, when her body is literally bleeding and hurting, he gets moody, withdrawn, short-tempered. The tension builds like clockwork every month. It's predictable and exhausting. And it's slowly cracking the foundation of something that was supposed to be built on love, not pressure. Now, to be fair, yes, intimacy matters. For a lot of people, it is how they feel connected and loved. No shame in that. But here's the difference. Healthy intimacy isn't a demand. It's not something you're entitled to on a schedule, no matter what your partner is going through. Because love says, I know you're in pain, I'll hold you. Not, you've got energy for the gym, so why not me? And the worst part? Writers even started wondering if she should take medication, Midal, not for her own comfort, but to possibly generate just enough energy to fulfill this man's expectations. Let that sink in. She's not looking to relieve her cramps so she can rest easier. She's thinking about popping pills so she can perform better during her period. That's not partnership. That's pressure wrapped in romance. The guilt he's laying on her, it's subtle. It's soft, but it's heavy. And it's working. Because Ryder isn't just physically exhausted, she's emotionally burnt out. She's caught in that horrible middle ground where she wants to meet him halfway, but deep down, she knows she's sacrificing her own comfort to keep the peace. That's the quiet tragedy in this post, the kind of sadness that doesn't come from screaming matches or broken trust. It comes from being quietly misunderstood, month after month, by someone who claims to love you. Now let's ask the real question. Where is his empathy? If he knows that during this one specific week she's struggling, wouldn't the loving thing be to step up, rub her back, run her a bath, take the kids for an hour so she can sleep? But instead, it's about what he's not getting. And don't get me wrong, it's okay for partners to express their needs. But when those needs come at the expense of ignoring someone else's pain, it stops being about connection and starts becoming emotional entitlement. Ryder wants to compromise. She's not trying to shut him down, she's looking for a middle ground, but the compromise shouldn't be one-sided. Because if her options are push through pain and perform, or be punished with tension, guilt, and silence, that's not a relationship. That's emotional blackmail disguised as love. So to the writer, you are not wrong for needing space. You are not selfish for wanting rest. You are not a bad partner because your body doesn't want sex while it's literally processing a biological event. If he truly values intimacy, it's time he learns that intimacy isn't just physical. It's listening, it's holding space, it's being there when your partner's body says, I need to be still. If he can't love you through the hard weeks, he doesn't deserve the best of you during the easy ones. Title: I, 28F, get chronic UTIs after having sex. My boyfriend, 27M, refuses to have sex with me if he has to wear a condom. 6 years. That's how long Ryder has been with her boyfriend. 6 birthdays, 6 winters, 6 summers. That's not a fling. That's not casual. That's real history. The kind where you know each other's favorite foods, the way they sigh before they say something serious, how they like their coffee in the morning. And for a long time, they had a rhythm, a routine. Sex was a regular, intimate part of the relationship. Unprotected, yes, but with love and trust, it was their normal, until the other pattern began to emerge. Chronic UTIs. Not once in a blue moon, not here and there. We're talking every couple of months, like clockwork. And if you've never had one, it's hard to explain the level of pain. The burning, the pressure, the feeling like your body is betraying you from the inside out. Imagine knowing that the very thing that should bring you closeness and joy leaves you curled up in agony afterward. Again, and again, and again. Ryder did all the right things. She peed after sex, she showered, she kept herself clean, she saw doctors, had conversations, tried to make sense of it all. But the conclusion over time became crystal clear. Unprotected sex was the trigger, every single time. So Ryder drew a line. For the sake of her health, she told her boyfriend they needed to use protection. No condom, no sex. And at first, he complied. Maybe he didn't love it, but he did it. Until recently. Now, he refuses. Not quietly, not out of confusion or concern. Outright refuses. His reasoning? You don't get a UTI every time. Let that settle for a second. Not every time. As if the fact that Ryder only suffers debilitating pain most times is some kind of green light. As if her body is something to gamble with, like Russian roulette with her bladder. This isn't just about a condom. It's about respect. It's about a partner who's saying, my temporary discomfort is more important than your long-term health. And the worst part? He's not even hiding it. He's flat out choosing his pleasure over her pain. Now look, relationships involve compromise, communication, balance. But there's a line between a conversation about preferences and someone outright ignoring a partner's medical need. Because that's what this is. This isn't about being picky. This isn't about being demanding. This is about preventing physical suffering that can have long-term consequences. And Ryder gets it. She even says it. She doesn't want to be incontinent by the time she's 40. That's not an exaggeration. Recurrent UTIs, if untreated or frequent enough, can wreck your urinary tract, your kidneys, your overall well-being. It's not a just take cranberry pills and move on situation. It's serious. And yet, here she is, having to beg, having to draw lines, having to be the one to carry the emotional labor of both explaining the problem and enforcing the solution. Meanwhile, her partner acts like she's ruining his fun. Let's call this for what it is. Selfish. It's selfish to minimize your partner's medical condition. It's selfish to make someone feel like their pain is inconvenient to you. It's selfish to demand sex only on your terms, knowing the damage it could cause. And let's not ignore what's bubbling underneath the surface here, a subtle kind of pressure. Because when your partner says no sex unless it's unprotected, what he's really saying is comply or go without. It's coercion, wrapped in entitlement. Ryder's not saying never again. She's not withholding intimacy out of spite. She just wants to protect her health, and for some reason, that's become controversial. Why? Why is her body up for debate? 6 years together, and now it feels like she's disposable. The second boundaries are set. That's the part that stings most, because love, real love, doesn't put your partner in a position where they have to choose between pain and pleasing you. This isn't a post about sex, not really. It's about the growing silence between two people who used to understand each other. It's about a woman whose body has been screaming for help and a partner who's plugging his ears because he doesn't want to wear latex. There's something so lonely about having to justify why you don't want to suffer anymore. And that's the core of this story. A partner's unwillingness to adjust, to empathize, to say, hey, if it hurts you, I'll do what it takes. Instead, Ryder is left wondering if she's being too much, if she's ruining the fun, if her pain is inconvenient. It's not, and it never was. No one should have to beg to be cared for. And if a condom is the only thing standing between Ryder and a supportive relationship, then maybe, just maybe, it's not the condom that's the problem. How do I, 18F, explain to my boyfriend, 20M, that I'm fed up of participating in his kinks? This one's not a fiery cheating scandal or some high-stakes betrayal, but sometimes the stuff that doesn't explode slowly wears you down instead. The writer, 18, honest, funny, and emotionally self-aware, is dating a 20-year-old guy. They've been official since November, but their connection started a bit earlier, back in September. Things are solid on the surface. He's sweet, supportive, especially when it comes to her chronic health issues, kidney failure, which she barely even brings up because that's not the struggle she's writing about today. No. What's quietly draining her, what's made her open up to strangers online instead of to the man she's with, is his kinks. Let's not beat around the bush. The guy's into breast binding and cleanliness, specifically hairlessness. He gets turned on when the writer shaves or waxes. That one, she tolerates. She says she'd probably shave anyway, so it's not a deal breaker. Not her thing, but fine. But the binding, that's different. That's the part that's slowly, subtly sucking the life out of her. She doesn't hate it. Not exactly. It's not painful, but it's become a routine. A boring, restrictive, unsexy routine that makes her feel like a prop rather than a partner. At first, she didn't want to make a fuss. She knew this binding thing really mattered to him. So she gave a little, let him indulge it, occasionally. But as time went on, occasionally became always. Now, every time she shows a hint of desire, he immediately reaches for the binder, like it's part of the process, like her body in its natural state isn't enough. He's even developed this habit. When she's wearing a normal bra, he'll pull at her shirt, peek underneath, and sigh, as if disappointed that she dared to walk around not already wrapped up like a gift to be unwrapped on his terms. It's not just physical discomfort, it's emotional. And the writer? She's done laughing it off. She's tired of being the cool girlfriend who goes along with the weird stuff because it's easier than saying, hey, I'm not into this anymore. And there's the heart of it. She's not scared he's a bad person. She checked. She literally looked through his phone and laptop because the internet had questions. Dark, disturbing ones. And no, he's not some danger to society. She made sure of that. But even if he's not doing anything wrong in the legal or moral sense, what do you do when you feel like you've become a character in someone else's fantasy? She wants to feel sexy. Not shaped, not staged, not sculpted, just sexy. She wants to enjoy being desired without it always being about what he wants to see, touch, or imagine. This isn't about kink shaming. It's about imbalance. She has no kinks of her own, none that she knows of anyway. So there's no trade-off, no shared exploration, just her adapting, complying, bending, literally binding herself to keep the spark alive for someone else. And she's tired. But here's the thing. She doesn't want to crush him. She knows how much this means to him. She's not trying to be cruel. She even admits maybe calling it a kink makes it sound heavier than it is. He prefers the term preference. And honestly, that's part of the problem. Because if he can't even own it, if he wants the perks without the responsibility, how can she tell him it's become too much without it feeling like she's throwing ice water on his deepest desires? And then comes the quiet confession, the one that's hard to say out loud. She doesn't want to pre-plan intimacy anymore. She doesn't want to wax on a schedule. She doesn't want to feel like sex is a performance with a script and costume. She just wants to be wanted, as is. No straps, no size. No critiques under her t-shirt. Just intimacy. Raw, real, without layers, literal or emotional. And so she turns to Reddit, to strangers, and asks, how do I say I'm done pretending this excites me? How do I express that I want to feel like me again? Desirable, yes, but not designed. And to anyone listening, this is bigger than lingerie or binders. This is about what happens when one person gives too much for too long, and forgets what it's like to feel chosen for who they are, not how they look, wrapped up in someone else's fantasy. To the viewers, how do you navigate this kind of dynamic? How do you express boundaries when the other person's pleasure hinges on the one thing you no longer want to give? Drop your advice, stories, thoughts in the comments, especially if you've ever felt like the set piece in someone else's dream. Because the writer, she's not angry. She's just tired. Tired of shaping herself into something she never asked to be. And sometimes that kind of exhaustion, it's the loudest cry for help. Subscribe if you want more real stories told like this. No filters, no fake drama. Just the raw truth, the heartbreak, and the hope that maybe someone out there gets it. How do I tell my GF that her mother 30 is making me incredibly uncomfortable? Let's just say this right out of the gate. Some boundaries should never be blurred. And when they are, it's not just awkward, it's a psychological minefield. The writer is a 25-year-old guy dating a 20-year-old woman. They've been together a while, everything seemed normal, maybe even sweet, until he got a front row seat to one of the most bizarre dynamics he's ever witnessed. His girlfriend and her mother, inseparable. Not just your usual mother-daughter closeness. We're talking unfiltered, unedited, totally unbound conversations, even about their sex lives. Yes, you heard that right. At first, the writer brushed it off. Different households, different cultures. He figured, okay, it's weird, but not my business. But the discomfort didn't just stay behind closed doors. It started spilling into the dinner table. Let that sink in. Imagine sitting across from your girlfriend and her mom, sharing a casual meal, and suddenly they're making inside jokes about your sex life, loud enough to make you shrink into yourself. And when you start to squirm or blush, they laugh. Like it's all a joke, like your discomfort is part of the entertainment. The writer isn't confrontational. He admits that. He tends to shut down when things get awkward, so he smiled, nodded, gave those fake little laughs to avoid making a scene. But then, things crossed a line. A line that shouldn't just be blurred, it should never have existed in the first place. 2 weeks ago, the writer received a text, not from his girlfriend, from her mom. It was a picture of a cucumber and a piece of ginger, along with the message, "Well, I heard the stories, but seeing it so visibly represented is something else." And no, this isn't a bad joke from a drunk aunt. This was a sober, direct message from his girlfriend's mother. If your jaws dropped, same. But it didn't stop there. The mom started getting physical. Light brushes of the arm, lingering glances, little whispers, saying things like, "I know you take good care of my daughter," which on the surface might seem harmless until you realize the tone behind it is anything but. Let's be real, this isn't just overbearing mother-in-law behavior. This is territorial, flirtatious, and borderline predatory. And here's where it gets harder. The writer tells his friends. Most of them, they laugh, throw out the same tired bang the mom jokes. Nobody seems to grasp the emotional corner he's trapped in. Only one friend took him seriously, briefly. Suggested it might be some kind of fetish. But even he shrugged it off when asked what to do next. Because that's where the writer's stuck. He doesn't want to blow up his relationship. He doesn't want to cause a rift between his girlfriend and her mom. He's not trying to make enemies. But he's uncomfortable in his own skin, in his own role, and in her family. And now he's asking the question most people would be too embarrassed to even whisper out loud. How do you tell your girlfriend that her mom is creeping you out? How do you tell someone you care about that their closest family member is crossing a line that makes your skin crawl? And what happens if she laughs it off like everyone else? Or worse, doesn't believe you at all? Because here's the thing. This isn't just a story about awkward texts or uncomfortable dinners. It's a story about consent, boundaries, respect. And what happens when someone, especially someone older and in a position of influence, decides those things don't apply to them? Let's pause right here. To the audience, how would you handle this? Would you bring it up gently, rip the Band-Aid off? Would you record the next text to have proof? Or would you quietly pull away, choosing your peace over confrontation? because when you're dealing with someone's mother, things get messy. It's just a her issue, it's a family issue. And when a parent becomes inappropriate, it doesn't just break boundaries, it shatters trust. And here's the writer, caught in the middle of a situation that reads like fiction but feels all too real. If you've made it this far, sound off in the comments. What would you do if your partner's parent was sending you suggestive pictures and treating your discomfort like a punchline? Drop your thoughts, advice, or even your own stories, because this is one of those rare moments where strangers might just be the only ones who truly get it. And if you want more real, raw relationship drama told like it actually happened, subscribe. These aren't just stories, they're wake-up calls. And sometimes the weirdest stories are the ones that need to be heard the most. I found out my boyfriend was cheating on me from the girl he was cheating with, but that's not the end. At first glance, it was just another DM, one of those random messages you don't even open. A weird name, no context, and a feeling in your gut that says, ignore it. But the name wasn't weird. It was Cassie, and she wasn't anonymous. Her profile had everything, photos, friends, a life, and her message simple, sharp, and completely terrifying. Hey, I think we need to talk about Jake. Jake, the man Ryder loved, 2 years deep, the man she thought she knew, the one who made Sunday pasta and left sweet notes in her lunchbox like a movie boyfriend come to life. He remembered birthdays he picked flowers. He had her heart. So of course, her first instinct was to trust him. Delete the message, dismiss the red flag. After all, isn't that what love teaches you to do? Believe in your person even when the truth is banging at the door, but Ryder didn't ignore it. She opened it, and her world changed. Cassie didn't come to play games. She came with receipts, screenshots, photos, voice messages. It was like a cold case file you'd see on some investigative documentary, except this was her life. Ryder's love story, now a crime scene. Jake wasn't just cheating, he was committed to the lie. A second phone, weekend trips with the boys that never existed. He even painted Ryder as his crazy ex to Cassie, the classic manipulation playbook. Cassie didn't even know about Ryder. She had no idea she was the other woman until a random Facebook tag exposed the truth. That's when the heartbreak twisted into betrayal. Not just for Ryder, but for Cassie too. And this is where things take a sharp, unexpected turn. Instead of turning on each other, they talked. Two women, hurt by the same man, grieving the same lie. And in the strangest, most poetic way, they began to heal together. Cassie floated the idea with a spark in her voice, we could get even. Now revenge? It wasn't some petty act here. It wasn't keying his car or blowing up his phone. It was justice, served slow, quiet, and devastating. Jake had a birthday coming up. He told Ryder it was a guys-only trip. But of course, it was Cassie he was meeting. So they let him go, or so he thought. Ryder packed his bag, left him cookies, wrote a love note. She played the part like an actress in a play where the final scene would bring the house down. And that scene? They were both waiting. Cassie inside the hotel room, Ryder in the room next door. When Jake walked in expecting a cozy night with his secret girlfriend, both women stepped into the room, together, and his soul left his body. He stammered, he panicked, tried to spin the confusion like it was some sitcom mix-up. Wait, you two know each other? And Cassie, calm as ever, delivered the line of the century. We do now. Ryder didn't yell, didn't beg. She just dropped his suitcase, smiled sweetly, and said, "You forgot your cookies." Poetic, brutal, beautiful. But just when you think that's the end, it wasn't. A week later, another girl messaged Ryder. Same story, different name. Jake wasn't double timing. He was running a harem, 5 women, simultaneously. One was pregnant. That's when everything snapped. They formed a group chat. The Jake Survivors Club. Timelines were shared, lies exposed, everything compared down to the hour. It was chaos, but it was also solidarity. Women who had every reason to hate each other, finding strength in sisterhood instead. And Cassie? She had one more brilliant idea. They made a TikTok, a light, funny little jab using the "he's a 10 butt" trend. It was meant to be cathartic, but it blew up. Girls from all over started commenting. Jake's entire web of lies unraveled before the whole internet. Within days, he vanished, deleted everything, gone like a ghost who got caught. But the ending? It wasn't about him. Cassie and Ryder, they stayed friends, real friends, got matching tattoos on their 1-year freedom anniversary, a little broken heart stitched back together. A quiet symbol of pain, survival, and new beginnings. And the pregnant girl, she kept the baby. She's doing amazing. They all still keep in touch. Here's the real takeaway. Sometimes the DM that shatters your world might also be the first message from someone who will help you rebuild it. So, if a woman ever messages you and says, "We need to talk about your boyfriend," don't block her. Don't hate her. Listen, because chances are she's not the villain. She's just the only one telling you the truth. I2F caught my husband cheating last night. He was texting his lover. We've been married for over 11 years. We have a 5-year together. You want to know what betrayal sounds like? It doesn't always come crashing through the front door. It doesn't shout. It doesn't throw things. Sometimes betrayal whispers. It hides in the backlight of a screen. It slips through the cracks of a life that looked, on the outside, like it had it all together. The writer, a 32-year-old stay-at-home mom, thought she was living that life, a stable home, a loving marriage of over 11 years. A beautiful 5-year-old child, a husband with a great job that allowed her to care for their home, their son, their everything. From the outside, perfect. From the inside, safe, secure, normal. Until last night. Because last night, she found it. The messages, her husband texting his lover, not a mistake, not a misunderstanding, not just talking. He had feelings. He admitted it. He had an emotional affair and maybe more. And he wasn't planning to stop. He wasn't even planning to leave. No, he wanted to stay married. That sink in. He wanted to keep the wife, the house, the child, the life they built, and still keep this other woman in his pocket. Maybe not openly, but still there. He told the writer he loved her, that she was his priority, that he didn't want a divorce because of their son, their life, his reputation, hell, even his parents. But when she asked him to cut ties with the other woman, he said no, because he didn't want to hurt her. The lover. The same man who just shattered the writer's heart with a single confession was worried about hurting the woman who'd been helping him keep secrets. Imagine that. The writer is now spiraling. Her world has been ripped from beneath her feet and she's left grasping at air. She thought they were a good team. They still had sex. They still laughed. They still functioned as a family. There was no sign, no warning. And if she hadn't stumbled across that message by pure chance, she would still be living in the dark. It was fate that she found out. Or maybe it was mercy. Because sometimes the truth, even when it's a razor blade, is better than a pretty lie. Now she's stuck in limbo. Divorce isn't a quick fix. Not for a stay-at-home mom with no financial independence. She's got a child to think about, a career to build from scratch, a house to eventually sell. A future that used to look clear, now smeared with betrayal. And he still says he loves her, still says she's his priority, still crawls back to the same routine as if his broken promises can be swept under the rug by some sweet talk and therapy sessions. But let's be honest here. How do you rebuild a marriage on the same ground where trust was buried alive? This isn't just a marriage in trouble. This is a woman, a mother, standing in the ruins of a reality she thought she could trust. This is a woman being told that her pain needs to take a backseat because her husband doesn't want to hurt someone else. And what makes it all worse is the silence. The writer can't eat, can't think straight. She's in full-blown survival mode. Meanwhile, he's calm, cool, maybe even relieved that the secret's out. And yet, he still wants both lives. He wants the comfort of his marriage and the thrill of something new. He wants her forgiveness without sacrifice. He wants a second chance without cutting the thread that connects him to the woman he betrayed her for. And she's left asking the one question every broken-hearted person whispers into the dark. How do you live after something like this? How do you look at someone who promised to love you forever and wonder if they meant it? How do you protect your child from the pain you're carrying while still trying to figure out if your whole life has been a lie? The writer doesn't have those answers yet. And honestly, who would? But here's what she does know. She deserves more than being plan A while he keeps a foot in plan B. She deserves truth, loyalty, clarity, not someone who's too scared to break up with his mistress because he doesn't want to hurt her feelings. So what now? Does she forgive and wait while he figures it out? Does she slowly build her independence and prepare to leave quietly? Or does she call this what it is, a betrayal that doesn't get to be excused just because he's afraid of losing his nice, comfortable life? What would you do? If your partner said they loved you, but loved someone else too, and didn't want to give either of you up, would you stay? Would you wait for them to choose? Or would you walk away before they even got the chance? Let us know in the comments. And if you've ever had your world shattered by someone who swore they'd never hurt you, just know you're not alone. Subscribe for more stories that hit deep. And if this one made your heart ache, give it a like. It helps us keep sharing these raw, real truths.